Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Coaching Roundtable. It's so good to see you.
Oh, hello.
Well, it's the end of the year, 2025. We have one more roundtable to go, and I'm excited about today's topic because we're going to discuss the Stoics. And in a time of rapid change, their lessons are even more valuable today. So let's go into our little display. We'll share a screen. And that's the wrong one. Let's go to the right one. Here we go. Okay, I think we're in the right one. Okay, I want to go to present mode. Do. See, this is what
There we
happens
go.
when we don't do them quite as frequently is Miss Myrna forgets what she's doing. Okay, so here we have the Stoics in a poster. Seneca. So I think there was I don't know if this was the Beatles, if they're copying a Beatles poster or this Rolling Stones. Maybe it was the Stones. I don't know. Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, Zeno, Epictetus. And those are some of the famous Stoics. And here we're showing them as modern day rock stars. So, people call it Roman philosophy, Greek philosophy. I was looking up Epictetus, for example, born in Turkey in like AD 50, and then born into slavery, sent as a slave to Rome because Rome was the world, they controlled everything. And so while the philosophers were doing a lot of their studying, and the birth of the Stoicism was in Greece, of course, these big ideas traveled the kingdom of Rome. And there were lots of people studying philosophy in Rome, which is where Epictetus was during the time of Nero. And at Nero's death, he was freed from his slavery contract and he found his way to the Painted Porch, which was the area of Rome where the Stoics were um, fomenting. So it happened during Roman times. I think it's considered Greek philosophy. You want to correct me, Dean, if that's wrong?
No, I think it is Roman develop. I think the Romans developed it. Marcus Aurelius is
Hmm.
I think the source material.
Hmm.
And I believe all the others were Romans too. I'm sure it has roots in Greek thinking, but
Right.
really
People
came to flower in Rome.
and all the every Rome took up half of the known world. So it'd be like the British Kingdom for a time, that was four continents of land. So, but one of the key questions that Stoics ask is, what can we control? And I like the story of Zeno in my little research before this roundtable. He was very happily living a life where you play the game of life. He was smart, he was wealthy, he was successful. Life was rock and roll. And then through um, circumstances outside of his control, he lost everything, all of his possessions, all of his money, his home, his position. He was destitute. And he had not developed an interior life. His exterior life was so fantastic, he had no need to develop an interior life. Once his exterior life was fully and completely destroyed, he began to find philosophers to teach him, what do I do now? So, all of that outside of his control, how does he live now in ruin? And he learned how with the Stoics. So they ask you to take responsibility for your self development, asking that first question, what can we control? And then from that point, we do what we can with what we have and we develop ourselves. We ask, questions. We listen to other philosophers. We see how other people have managed, where things have gone their way or not gone their way. And then how do they keep their head? How do they survive the storms? So it's very popular, particularly midlife men, 35 to 50, are studying the Stoics. The Daily Stoic is a huge Ryan Holiday offering, where people get daily updates on how do you handle things from a Stoic philosophy point of view, and he shares, how they arrived at these thoughts. So when you're navigating whatever comes at you in life, if you can do it from a place of stoicism, you can take a fresh look at where you are and make the best decision you can without shaking your fist at the sky. You are calm under pressure, you develop emotional resilience, and that ultimately is a path to happiness. So we have a lot to talk about, and we have one more slide. And let's see. Okay, there's Stoic humor. This one with the soldier in armor says, I'm so disciplined in my spiritual walk, no sin can get me. Oops, the sin of pride just got me. Oops. In the middle, I thought of you, Jonathan. Death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic. Okay, I'll smile back. The many emotions of a Stoic. Here's a Greek statue. Happy, sad, curious, hopeful, offended. Nothing rocks his world. He's cool under pressure all the time. So, well, a quick tour through Stoicism. Would one of you like to go first to talk about what your thoughts are about how modern day Stoics, have a happy life?
Well, I think the thing probably we want to do is say what it is, right?
Please go ahead.
Well, I mean, my understanding of Stoicism is essentially it's a practical philosophy, meaning it's a philosophy about how to live
Mhm,
that emphasizes a kind of emotional uh, disconnection from the immediate ups and downs of life, in the
mhm,
sense that it focuses heavily on discerning between what you can control and what you can't control,
mhm,
and to accept the things you can't control. We see echoes of it everywhere. I mean, it
mhm,
just even in just saying that, it you can hear it in the famous and what we call the Serenity Prayer,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
Um, you hear it there, and I think Stoicism like, sort of gets a bad rap in the sense that, like that cartoon or that meme you were showing
mhm,
implies that it means not having emotions.
mhm,
It
mhm.
doesn't. It simply just means being aware of your emotions and not being overtaken by them,
Yes.
and not having them necessarily dictated by the ups and downs of the external world.
Mhm,
And I think, in a lot of, like in Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, he emphasizes a lot, sort of remembering your mortality and how the sort of transience of life, and to not to sort of look at all of the negative experiences you might have in the sense of their being transient, and not sort of absolutizing them or whatever in your mind. And and then I think there's probably a positive principle in Stoicism too, which is more about sort of not just about enduring and not about necessarily withdrawing, but about having a clear sort of sense of your own values that you're trying to live out, and responding to the ups and downs of life and to other people's treatment of you according to your values, instead of simply according to your emotions, which might lead you to, you know, pursue revenge or something like that. And, Marcus Aurelius was the emperor of Rome, and so his judgments and decisions and actions had massive consequences, right? Because if you execute someone for revenge, well, his family and all of his friends might also be powerful,
mhm,
right? And it can cause you a lot of trouble. And so I think a lot of his meditations are really about how do you, as a leader, how important it is as a leader to maintain your composure and to live out your values instead of just your immediate emotions. And I think that's kind of the core of Stoicism.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that Stoicism also sometimes gets confused with advice to just give up. So the guy who cares about nothing and plays video games all day, and we have that stereotype. He's not a stoic because he is so disengaged in in his life that he's he's actually run by his feelings in a way that he can't see. So a stoic is a person who like actually seeks to achieve something in the world without being passive and without being run over by the negative feelings that are generated by experiences that are less than he would have wanted or imagined.
Yeah, I really love the, modern day phrasing about emotional intelligence or emotional resilience. And I do think Stoics get a bad rap for I don't care about anything. And that's not the fact. The fact is I won't be ruled by my feelings.
Hmm.
I'm going to rule me, and I have feelings, but they don't rule me. So that is someone who can keep their head when everyone else is losing theirs. And that is a reliable leader who can say, well, we have a storm. Okay, let's navigate the storm. Well, we have a sunny day. Let's enjoy the sunny day. They've made friends with reality, as Brian Katie wants to say, without saying, gosh darn it, how come it has to be rainy today? It's not fair, which is not a useful orientation to a rainy day. You can't do anything about the rain except navigate it as best you can. So that's more of a practical philosophy, right? To find a path to happiness because rainy days and sunny days are all going to get included in the life we live. So let's learn how to deal with all those. Jonathan, I know in the men that you work with and your clients that there have probably been some stoic expressions like I got a bad deal or, I've always wanted to date this woman and uh-oh, she said yes, she'd go out with me. Now what do I do? You have to handle the good news, the bad news, you have to handle it.
Uh, so I see Stoicism kind of like a Zen. Like
Yeah,
it's kind of like it's not a religion, but kind of like a way of being.
yeah,
Um,
philosophy. Mhm.
yeah. Uh, so if you take it very hardcore, I don't know how positive that can be, but if you take the principles of Stoicism and apply them to your everyday life,
Mhm.
I have never ever seen something like a negative outcome coming out of like seeing reality as it is. It makes your life flow more effortlessly. Um, Actually, one of my favorite Stoic humans over the history, I don't even know his name. I always forget because it's hard to pronounce.
Yeah,
And
Greek.
I'm pretty sure he's not very famous, but
Roman.
he used to live in Greece on the streets. Dean, if you know, remind me of his
I think it's
the
Demosthenes who lived on the streets.
who
I think it was Demosthenes, but I could be wrong about that. That he
Mhm.
possible.
carried the light and he was looking for one good man. Is this the one you're talking about?
No, no. This one was more extreme. This one probably before him. This one was like the guy that will be like doing all kinds of like politically incorrect things on the streets, like being
Mm.
walking naked around.
Oh, the guy who lived as a dog.
Yes, him.
Yes, I
Yeah,
forgotten.
see, the name is
Yeah.
very hard, and I know that he's dead right now, but he wouldn't mind that I don't remember his name because that's the way he was living. He was like, I don't really care if you remember my name or not,
He would
but
not be
look it up.
offended.
This guy, yeah, he used to. He's my favorite Stoic of all times,
Mhm.
um, because there's a story that one time somebody asked uh, Alexander the Great, if you were not you, who would you like to be? And he said the only thing that came out of his mouth was this guy.
Mhm.
So that tells me something. He was so true to himself that even other like magnificent human beings were like, "Hey, I want to be like this guy."
Mm-hmm.
and he was just being himself. So I have never seen uh, that a touch of stoicism in someone's life makes their life worse. I
Mm-hmm.
have only seen uh, beautiful things unfold after they start seeing like reality as it actually is, and therefore I am pro stoicism in a big way.
You know, that's wonderful. I think it forced you, as it did Zeno, to develop an interior life. And you may have had a life so filled with delights and exceptional experiences that that was not required of you. And then changes in life required it. Or you may have been predisposed to an interior life all along and had both an interior and an exterior life. But I think when circumstances drive new decisions, they drive changes that feel outside of your control, there's almost always a gift in that somewhere. So as people explore, why does this bother me so much? You know, why do I want to change this job? How did I love this and I don't love it anymore? There's so many questions you have to answer for yourself when you consider Stoic philosophy or just how to find a path to happiness. Do you have some more thoughts about that, Dean?
Well, I think here's let me hone in on one sort of aspect of what we might call Stoic thinking, right? And that is that I most people live their lives sort of unconsciously,
Mhm.
right? And if nothing else, Stoics ask you to not do that, right? Because in order to control your emotions, you have to be aware of them. And that so many people can, get the job and then they don't understand why they don't like it and all of that because they haven't really had probably anyone in their lives who's living at a level of greater awareness to help them sort of bump up to where they can understand those things. And most people kind of just live out a cultural script rather than developing their own either their own goals or their own set of values, their own code. And what happens is they then get into these situations where the only thing they have to rely on to guide them is their unconscious emotions. I liked it, now I don't like it, I don't know why, right? As opposed to being able to say, well, what kind of person do I really want to be? How is this position? How was it a good fit at that point and is not a good point fit now? What what am I all about as a person? And so I think all of those things have more, all the way I've just described that was helpful to live. All of those things are at least consonant with Stoic thinking. Um, and what really causes people those problems is that mm, they don't have they don't have a philosophy basically. And so I think to the first step for people to kind of move out of that sort of reactive living, because I think Stoicism is fundamentally too about not living reactively. And to move out of that kind of reactive life pattern, um, I think that's probably why Stoicism has been in a little bit of a revival, is that it is a philosophy, but it's also in its way non-religious. So it
Yes,
doesn't require kind of um, belief commitment, or
right.
it doesn't even require a commitment to a group or anything. But
There's
it
no
is
weekly
something,
services. Yeah.
right? But it is something that people can use to begin kind of lifting themselves out of that pattern of reactive living.
I think too, when you look at the Stoics, by the way, I use the browser to look up the Stoic who lived like a dog. Diogenes
Hmm.
was the Stoic who lived like a dog. So apparently highly esteemed by Alexander the Great.
Yes,
Diogenes, but I think that to have the emotional maturity to take what comes and to navigate the difficult times well and fully enjoy the positive times that come into every life is a path to happiness. And you don't need anybody's permission to change your mind about that. You know, you can decide for yourself to change your mind about that. So you're not breaking societal rules or violating precepts from a religion to decide to be happy come what may, to just decide to do that and then learn how. There is I wanted to bring this up to you, Jonathan. There's a meme out there that says, if you only live by tradition, your life is ruled by dead people.
Ah, that's beautiful.
Mhm. So, what are your formal thoughts? More thoughts about Stoicism, how you choose to live instead of just how you unconsciously go from day to day, and then we'll do our wrap up.
Yeah. Um, so when I think of like Stoic people, a lot of I think there's a lot of misunderstanding nowadays because there's so much information and so much interpretation. But the reality is that, like, for example, like the Stoic phase, like like a never changing phase. I don't think that's actually like completely true
No, it's not
because like
true.
I can only imagine like Marcus are like emotions are energy in motion. That
Hmm.
means the Stoic humans, they
Hmm.
were able to feel the emotions,
Hmm.
but they allow them to come out the way they wanted. So,
Hmm.
for example, I cannot imagine Marcus Aurelius leading an army to conquer all these places, being like,
Yeah,
no,
no.
he
I think
was
there was a rebel
he was
yell in
such
there
a he
somewhere.
was such a force, and with purpose. So the emotion that he felt, he transmuted it and communicated the way he wanted. Therefore, he was so powerful when it came to how he expressed his ideas, his thought process, his actual energy in motion was so efficient that there was no way that any other man around him will be like, okay, this guy obviously knows something that I don't know. Like, and if he's saying this, it sounds like a good idea. Why not? Uh, so yeah, I don't think that necessarily being a stoic means that you have to not like feel something. That is a misconception. You are allowed to feel as much as you want, but like transmuting the feeling that you get, you can transmute it and like move that emotion into some like that energy into motion the way you want, which like I think musicians, artists do it unconsciously in a beautiful way, like writers, like they get all these feelings and then it starts doing its thing inside of them and it comes out the way they want it, like purposefully in a specific way. So yeah, being stoic, it's a great way to learn how to manage your own feelings so that when they come out, they you you communicate something that is very powerful but with purpose. And therefore, yeah, reading Marcus and all kinds of Marcus is great because that guy. How can you say no to someone that had the known world at his feet? Like
Yes. Hmm.
you will have to be very vicious to not wanting to understand the basic points of somebody that is trying to communicate
Hmm.
something for
Hmm.
you to live your life better. You will have to be very, what's the word that I'm looking for? Um, when you do not want to like take someone's advice that you know it's better for you, but you
Very
don't want.
stubborn or narrow-minded.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly.
Well, I had a client recently say, "Am I the most stubborn client you've ever had?" I said, "Oh no." He thought and he was being very stubborn, but he did not take the cake. So yes, and I think part of the value of Stoicism is you ask these questions of yourself. This I can control. All of this is mine 24/7. This I can control. So when you begin to ask yourself those questions, why did I respond that way? Why did I want this big new job and now I have no free time? Did I just not think about giving up all my free time? Can I navigate this job and also have free time? You ask yourself questions that lead to your unique path to happiness. Do you have some final thoughts, Dean? And then tell us how we get a hold of you.
I think what I would want to say is probably the real the ultimate value of something like Stoicism is that it helps people who have not thought very much about these matters
Mhm,
change the default assumption about what their experience should be.
Mm.
So I think people who have not thought very much about these things and who kind of drift through life on a cultural script,
mhm,
they kind of assume that their goal should be comfort
mhm,
or um, a kind of low key positive feeling all the time,
mhm, mhm,
which they might call happiness.
Mm.
Whereas I think something like Stoicism helps people to shift that. And so that the goal ends up not being sort of comfort and security and happiness, whatever they mean by that, but rather something more like integrity, um, honor, those something like that, which is um, fundamentally kind of more rooted in what you can control, right? And so what you can always control is whether you make a decision proactively out of your values or reactively out of your emotions.
mhm,
And a long pattern of making proactive, um, values based decisions uh, gives you a long history of honor, at least in your own eyes. And integrity, and that is a major shift for a lot of people to make from I'm going to pursue a life of integrity and honor rather than just sort of a life based around comfort, security, and a low grade, generally positive feeling.
mhm,
Um, and I think making that shift is kind of the beginning of living a life that's directed and desired and designed.
mhm, mhm.
People can find me at deanabbott.com, at alifedesign.org backslash Dean,
Yep.
and on Twitter at Dean Abbott.
Go visit /Dean, lifedesign.org, and look at his upcoming January men's coaching group and
Yep.
ongoing Telegram coaching group. So, yeah,
Yep.
go check those out. So, I love the idea that you mentioned if you're making unconscious decisions, you could at some point step out of the river and make a conscious decision and step back in. But always know there's an opportunity for reset.
Mhm.
So if you've done something and you're not getting the outcome you like, make a new decision. Nobody gets hurt. Just make a new decision. Sometimes when business owners I work with and they have a plan, I say, now let's pick the spots of a reset. How far have we gone where we could still make a new choice? Where we haven't committed all the money or all the time or all the people? Where are we at an intersection where we could rethink this if needed? Nope, we're going to go full guns a-blazing because it's still working. Nope, we need to change 25% of this. So change is built in and inevitable. And if you've made some unconscious choices at any time, you can step in and make a conscious choice instead. So it's okay to rethink it, to develop a plan B. Jonathan, I was thinking about you when they talk how you describe people that are making unconscious decisions. You call them humans. And so all of us have made unconscious decisions from time to time. So any final thoughts about Stoicism and how do people find you?
And I do also. I have done it, and I do it from time to time, which is why I know that other humans do it as well. Otherwise, I wouldn't know. But I know myself
We'd be out of
from.
work. If humans didn't do this sort of thing, we'd have no work to do.
um, yeah. Final thoughts. The only thing that we can truly control is our mind. For example, external situations. Let's say an external situation can be you get a virus that it attacks your body. Um, it is beyond your capacity to say no because you have no control, right? It's
Mhm.
microscopic. So
Mhm.
the virus comes, attacks your body, but you still have the capacity to respond with your own mind to how you're going to handle that situation,
Mhm.
regardless if it's a car accident, a virus attacking your body, or a family member dying, like a hardcore experience that happens to you that it's external, it's happening, especially like a sickness or something because it's within yourself, and you still have the power to say, okay, I'm feeling this way, but it is part of me. Like this virus needs me to survive, so let's make some, like you have room to play with like things that happen to you, or if you get into like a accident that is horrible and you're still alive, you still have a lot of power within yourself to be like, okay, I made it. I may not have one leg and one arm, but I'm still here, and you still have a lot of power. So stoicism, I think, is it's an empowering um, way
Mhm.
to live. I do believe that. You can
Wonderful.
find me
Mhm.
on alifedesign.org,
Mhm.
also on Instagram, Jonathan R. Coaching,
Mhm.
as well as TikTok, Jonathan R. Coaching. YouTube, I created a new channel, so you can find me on Jonathan R. Coaching on YouTube.
Mhm.
And via Gmail, you can contact me at jonathanrcoaching@gmail.com.
Wonderful. Well, also oflifedesign.org /Jonathan. Yeah, we can find you
Yes.
there, and we have your TikTok and your Instagram, and yeah,
Oh,
so
even better.
yeah, so no worries. It's so wonderful to have this conversation with you guys during this kind of resurgence of Stoicism. And yeah, make happy decisions out there, people. You have a path to happiness. And if you need some coaching to help you get there, we're available. So until next time, bye.